Arsenal have gone out there and won again. So annoying because although a lot of people seem to be quite negative about Arsenal at the moment and saying they've not been as good this season, they keep winning. They are second place. They are 2 points behind Tottenham Hotspur. They beat Sheffield United 5-0, a side that my team, Man United, could barely beat. Spurs got a 90th minute winner. City struggle versus Sheffield United. And it's just like, as a rival fan, I'm worried about Arsenal. I'm worried that they are going to go to the very end. I see a side that completely won 5-0 without Odegaard, without Gabriel, without, a lot of key players like Gabriel Jesus, a lot of their bench players stepping up. And they absolutely dominated that game. They were in absolute control of the whole game. And I don't like it. I don't like that Arsenal keep winning, but we've got to talk about them. We've got to talk about Declan Rice, been absolutely phenomenal. William Saliba. I mean, do I even need to talk about Declan Rice and William Saliba? It's just that they're consistently phenomenal. We need to talk about this Arsenal performance in general and how dominant they were. We're going to talk about Arsenal and how, a lot of people, I think, have been overcritical of Arsenal. Yes, they've started this season maybe a little bit slower in the sense of maybe they haven't looked as good or as convincing in some of those wins, but they've got the wins over the line. Teams generally treat Arsenal a little bit different this season because, of how good they were last season. So teams are a lot more defensive against Arsenal. So Arsenal are coming across against low blocks more and more, which they're learning to break down. But I think, as someone that's watched Arsenal this season as a Man United fan, it's a team that keeps winning. It's a team that is very convincing. And, I know some Arsenal fans aren't happy that, they're not performing as well. But I'm like, you just beat Sheffield United 5-0. Only Newcastle have scored more goals than Arsenal this season. When I watch Arsenal, I see a very good team that is going to go right to the end in a title challenge. And I hate to say that. It's not just because they won 5-0 today. They got a big win against Man City. They got a big win against United. They're beating the big sides. Even when they're not at their best, they're getting results. And yes, they did drop off versus Chelsea, but if you watch Arsenal, you see a good side. You've got players like Trossard who comes off the bench and always makes an impact. So I don't think Martinelli and Saka are at their best. I think Saka's just going through a little bit of a blip, and hopefully he recovers from that, because I think Arteta's playing Saka with a bit of an injury. I don't think something's right with Saka. But I think for the most part, Arsenal were good today. And I think the word to describe Arsenal would probably be control. 2.78 XG compared to Sheffield United 0.03. And I want to talk about Declan Rice and just how good he's been. But 0.03 XG for Sheffield United just shows how solid and compact they were defensively. They had Kio, however you say his name, coming on and filling in, and he was solid. Because I think Gabriel, obviously we always talk about Saliba as Arsenal's main centre-back, but I think Gabriel was a phenomenal centre-back, one of the most underrated players in the Premier League. And I think, if something happened to him, I always thought Arsenal would miss him. But Kio filled in really well there as well. 67% possession, 13 shots to 2, 8 shots on target to 0. Very, very dominant performance from Arsenal start to finish. I think it's that 3-4 big chances created and a very, very deserved win. And we're going to talk about Nketiah. We're going to talk about Havertz, Rice, all of the Arsenal players in today's video. But I have to say, when you play Sheffield United and you win 5-0, you can't ask for more. I see Arsenal fans being negative. I see rival fans being negative about Arsenal, and I don't get it. You didn't have Thomas Partey, you didn't have Odegaard, you didn't have Gabriel, you didn't have Gabriel Jesus. They were all rested, yet you won 5-0 against a side that Man United, Spurs and Man City did struggle to break down. It was a very convincing win. What more could have Arsenal done? Yes, some people might argue that Arsenal haven't started as fast this season, but I think when you watch Arsenal, the overall control in games is better. When Arsenal go 1-0 up, they're going to win that game and sit out. They're defensively so compact, and I think Declan Rice has brought that control. Last season, when Arsenal scored, you sometimes felt that they were going to concede, and that obviously resulted in them actually dropping out the title race at the end. I don't get the negativity around Arsenal. They're winning games. They are 2 points off top. I think they're on the same amount of points as last season. And you've got Declan Rice on your side. I think long-term, having Declan Rice, Jurriën Timber back in, this Arsenal side is better than Arsenal last year just because of the depth. When there's an injury, as we saw today, or when a few players are rested, they can step in as well. And Newcastle, the only side that have scored more than Arsenal. And, for me, 4 big chances created. They were good. I thought Raya had a much better game. His distribution was really good. Ben White was solid. Saliba, fantastic again. Defensively, great. Havertz was okay, but I just don't know what he offers. I think he's got to be in the front line, not the midfield line as well. Declan Rice was absolutely phenomenal. What a player. What a player. Smith Rowe and Havertz probably didn't do enough. But Smith Rowe, I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt because he's just coming back, isn't he? He's rusty. Don't think it was Saka's best game. Don't think it was Martinelli's best game. And I have to give Arteta props for man management there. I think one of the things that Arteta's been criticised is his man management. Often, not really taking off Saka or Martinelli or resting key players when Arsenal have got the win over the line. And I think Saka's a guy that's definitely needed more rest. But, Trossard coming on was fantastic. Trossard is a baller. Just always, I know he didn't get a goal or anything, but he always likes to make things happen as well. So he did make an impact as well. I think, the only thing that was missing for Arsenal maybe was a Kai Havertz goal for confidence. But I think if I was an Arsenal fan, I'd be happy with that. And, they had the last 10 minutes with like Elneny and Havertz in midfield, and they're still very much in control. When you watch Arsenal, it's just they're so in control. It's so obvious from start to finish they're going to win. They're not going to concede. And Declan Rice is a big part of that. I mean, look at the consistency in his performances here. 7.3, 7.4, 7.4. He's just been so consistent for Arsenal. He protects that back four so well. He can dictate games. He can drop deep. He can progress the ball forward. He's brilliant today. And, one thing I'll say to Arsenal is that Declan Rice is going to be a phenomenal player. He is a phenomenal player. He's been a game-changing signing for them. I think another thing Arsenal have got is hungry players. I think, when you rotate and you introduce hungry players, there was the hunger over the pitch from Arsenal as well. And we've got to talk about Eddie Nketiah. Now, Eddie Nketiah probably needs to score more consistently, but he was fantastic today. Got a hat-trick, hasn't put a foot wrong. And I think with Eddie Nketiah, there's a lot of pressure on him, number 14 shirt, high wages and stuff, and he'll have a good game, then be meh for 4 games and have a good game. But, Nketiah is one of those guys that, I think in the long term, Arsenal might want a striker. I think Jesus is fantastic, but he's injury prone and he's not a natural goal scorer. But Jesus, I think, makes the whole Arsenal team play better. But Nketiah is one of those guys that in those smaller games, as a rotation option, he's Mr. Reliable against those smaller games. And he was fantastic. Didn't put a foot wrong, got a hat-trick. A lot of the Eddie Nketiah haters, will be quiet today because I think he gets a bit too much hate. And I know that he's on big wages and stuff. And I think maybe Arsenal do need to look at a striker in the long term. But if Eddie Nketiah can do that more consistently, then then you've got a good player there. I think with Arsenal fans, it's probably like consistency of Nketiah as well. But he was great today. I think the first goal gave him the confidence to get the second and the third, I have to say. And you have to look at Arsenal, and it was a very all-round sort of complete performance. Maybe Havertz, you want to see more from. I don't think Havertz is a midfielder. But I get that Odegaard's been ghosting, so you want to drop him and probably want to rest him as well. Smith Rowe is going to be rusty, but he did get an assist as well. I'm sure they will improve as well. But I think, with Arsenal this season is they've been playing teams who've been playing a very low block against them. And sometimes Arsenal have started games slow because they start to sort of struggle to break down that lower block. But once Arsenal get going, they get better and better. They go into games, they control games. And I think the difference between Arsenal this year and last year is Arsenal used to start really fast, score a goal, look phenomenal. But Arsenal always kind of looked like leaking a goal last season. Whereas in today's game, it was just utter control, where they didn't really look like conceding as well. And I think, people are critical of Arsenal at the moment because I think, they started last season so well. But I think that when I watch Arsenal, they are good. Like, they are convincing. I look at Arsenal and I say, yeah, this team is going right to the end of the title challenge. And I don't like to say that as a United fan, but, this Arsenal team is, will probably go to the end of the title challenge. I think, there's Spurs, there's Liverpool, there's City, all in the title race. You never know what Newcastle can produce as well. There's a lot of good teams there. And, I think towards the end of the season, depth will be what, ultimately helps the team. But I think, Arsenal showing they've got good depth. I think Tomiyasu's been really good for Arsenal lately. Probably a name that doesn't get mentioned a lot, but whenever I've watched Arsenal, I've always been impressed with Tomiyasu, always been impressed with Trossard, which, the big names are normally Odegaard, Saka, Saliba, Rice. But I have to say, Tomiyasu and Trossard, whenever I watch them, they are impressive for me. And Nketiah ends his 5-goal drought. Arsenal get another win over the line without key players against Sheffield United, which have proven to be a difficult side to beat. And, 24 points, very much up there. Haven't really put a foot wrong. And some people say Arsenal haven't quite clicked yet. Well, if they haven't quite clicked yet, they're going to only get better and better and better. So, don't understand some of the negativity around Arsenal. Well, if they haven't clicked yet and they're winning these games, imagine what they're going to win by when they do click. Do you know what I mean? And it's a bit annoying as a United fan that they keep winning and the Spurs keep winning and then Liverpool keep winning. But, hopefully United win in the derby tomorrow. Smash a like, smash a subscribe. I should be back with a Newcastle post-match reaction tonight or tomorrow. depending on when I get around to it. And then I will do a reaction to, obviously, the derby on my main channel and potentially the Liverpool game, but that might not come out till Monday. Thank you for watching. See you next time.